shake it up. Shaking up the garbage we feed on. Shaking up our wondrous being. Let's begin to reFORM. Even if just for a moment, to share the cloying and the suffocating skin. Let's shake it up right now. Let's shake it up right now. Let's shake it up right now. Shake it up. Languishing in thoughts, lucidity doesn't benefit the great.
The Creative Shake-Up podcast would like to welcome Finn Davis, and it's wonderful to see you, Finn. Yeah, let's wave. We'll carry
Hello.
that. Let's do that for 30 minutes. That sounds like a good idea to me. How are you today? You okay?
Yeah, I'm really good. It's a lovely sunny day. I'm going to get some reading done later. Been editing all morning, so it's a good day.
Fantastic. And you are, in the little I know of you, you are a very, very diverse creative soul.
Yeah, I do a lot of different stuff.
Which is really, really interesting. My first experience of you, I think it was one or the other of. I think it was Leighton Institute.
It was
an open mic. You were on the stage doing some covers, and I've witnessed you. Here's a diversity of singing. I've witnessed you performing Babushka Kate Bush and Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. Yeah, right there is two completely different dimensions of music, and you did them with such power. Now I've become aware of there's lots of other things that you do as well. So what I'd like you to share for us to begin with, please, Finn, and I think it's a brilliant name, by the way. I'm sure you've heard that before, Finn. I think it's such a cool name. What are you currently doing? What do you do in the creative realms? We talked a little about your singing just there. What other things do you want to share that you share as a creator, please?
Well, at the minute, I have three main things that I kind of do, maybe four. I've been really enjoying doing open mics, like locally, and learning lots of different songs. And singing is not something that I want to do as like a main career. But the reason why I've been doing lots of open mics is because I want to eventually do theatre. And a good place to kind of build up stage presence and get more used to singing in front of audiences is these local open mics, where I just get a chance to meet other creative people like yourself and learn about the kind of local musicians that are around. And it's just really interesting. Another thing I do is I'm really into lots of different genres of music. So I actually write music reviews online. So I spend a lot of time listening to albums. And as well as that, I want to do in September, I'm going to be doing a degree in theatre, hopefully at York, fingers crossed. So I've been trying to dive myself into improving my writing of theatre, because eventually I want to kind of direct and write plays. So I've been writing a play called Liar Liar, and I'm on around scene 7 of that, and it's the first big proper play that I've really sunk my teeth into in terms of writing, because I have written a few other things in the past, but nothing as detailed as this, if that makes sense. So I've just been really enjoying writing that. And then the third thing is my YouTube and kind of social media, because I just really think it's a good space to experiment with so many different creative mediums. So at the minute, I make videos about anime, but I like to explore other things, and that's just because it's something that I grew up with and I know a lot about, and I want to make sure that if I make a video, I'm not just talking about something that I don't know a lot about, so something that I'm experienced in, if that makes sense. So at the minute, I'm writing I'm currently editing a video about the treatment of women in anime, and I'm looking at it through a feminist lens and looking at how the animes kind of frame these women and how they're treated and how that could affect women in real life. And then I go I look at a lot of studies and I go into the history of it, and I'm just using it as a way to improve my camera presence, improve my editing, and all of those things to improve myself as a performer, if that makes sense.
Wow. Wow. And I think as well, this is my feeling, as so I've done a little bit of acting in the past, theatre and small film, small television as well, but theatre quite a bit. Is effectively performance is life, if that makes any sense to you. And I think just listening to what you've just said, that's what struck me as the mirror, the reflection of when you share. So for me, writing music, writing songs particularly, I think people categorize them as songs, but they are representations of the human experience. So listening to what you've just said there, that's exactly the same through the different medium that you're using, which sometimes people try to almost separate media into entertainment, which is okay, but I feel there's more to what you're saying. There are messages that society does well to benefit from.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Something that I really enjoyed about your music is when I saw you the first time at Leighton, I liked how it was very multimedia. You weren't just singing a song, you did so much other stuff. You were doing that thing when you were getting the audience to cheer, and then you had the videos in the background. And I thought that was so interesting. And that definitely inspired me in some ways, because in the past, I used to make these like little music videos on YouTube when I'd get my friend to film me, and I'd do loads of different things. But for me, media is not something that should just be separated into complete categories, because for example, there's a theatre practitioner that I really look up to called Katie Mitchell, and also Emma Rice, and both of them, something that really strikes me about them is they don't just make theatre in a sense of it's actors on a stage in a set. They really use so many different things. Like in an Emma Rice show, you'll see projection, singing, dancing, like different costumes, audience participation, and all of that is done to convey a message. And I think that overall, while media can be there to entertain, it can also change people's opinions, because I'm very into politics and things like that. I spend a lot of time reading about politics and everything. So I think that in a way, instead of going into politics, I want to use media as a political tool, and at the minute I'm kind of building up my toolbox while I wait to go into uni.
Wow. Let's just pause there for a moment. Wow. So I'm gonna say this, and this is the first thought that's coming to me. Surely, in the world we live in, even of somebody my age, my background, we've moved beyond a few blokes in central London getting up to a microphone and chomps in about different stuff. We live in the technological multimedia world that we live in, and it's fascinating that sometimes people say of politics, when you talk about something that's opposite the establishment, they say you're getting political in a negative way. Well, politics is about affecting change. So listening to what you've just said, that is a massive, massive opportunity to create alternate considerations for others. So at least to present, here's perhaps a different view that you hadn't considered previously. And this is through music, this is through visual imagery, this is through interaction, this is through that engagement together. So yes, absolutely, and our world needs more of what you're sharing. That is incredible, because otherwise genuinely, because otherwise what it is people are thinking, well, we'll wait until some middle-aged blokes and women equally as well are going to make some decisions in London. And I know that some people might hear that and say, well, hold on a minute, but you're talking about these creative projects that you are looking to create as affecting the change in society, and that's genuinely how I see it. That's how I see
I'm
it.
glad
So,
you agree. I'm
yeah,
glad you agree.
I totally do. I totally do. So that's really, really exciting. I got a feeling we're going to be doing this again, Finn. And I'm saying that already. I'm saying that already. So that's brilliant. Now, within the plays that you're creating, I'm going to stay on that one for a little while if I can.
Of course.
How do you see them being presented? Where and how? What's your vision of how these are going to work out?
Well, I think that at the minute, theatre isn't the thriving industry that it used to be. I mean, musical theatre is very popular, but when was the last time you heard one of your mates say, you know what, I've gone to the Grand to go and see a play? Not very often. And I volunteer at the Grand because I want to kind of keep theatre alive, but I notice there's not many plays on at the minute, and I hope to start taking theatre and making it more accessible for the average person in the future. So I will probably present a lot of my theatre through things like YouTube and even doing it on a stage, but also recording it and putting it somewhere else so that at the end of the day, more people can get the message and learn about it, if that makes sense.
Totally. It's a channel. YouTube is a channel. That's how I look at it. It is a channel, and it's a channel that's free at point of entry. And it's an opportunity that you don't have to wait for big producers to take on board, and you can create content yourself. Before we move into how you've arrived at where you are, again, the other immediate thought that came to me is, genuinely, I would be very, very interested in playing some form of part in anything you're doing. So without me categorising how I appear to be physically, if it worked that as a character of, my description, age, etc., I would happily do that, and I would happily consider a wide variety of different parts, and also music to add any back catalogue of music I've got the ownership of, that would lend itself to what you're doing. If that worked equally as well, I would be more than happy with that.
Thank you. Okay. That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Collaboration is so important. It's so important.
I agree. A community is very important, and a lot of young people don't see the importance of community and building a community. But I think that is so important, because you can't create something you can't film a video without having someone hold the camera. You know what I mean?
Totally. Brilliant. So what things have happened in your life that brought you to where you are? So if I give you a comparison, I'm a bit older than you, only chronologically, yeah. And many things have brought me to where I am currently, but relatively speaking, you're younger. So I'm interested to know as much as you're prepared to share, because it is, I don't quite know how to say this without it sounding patronising. It's incredibly refreshing. It's incredibly amazing to be hearing you communicate how you're communicating. It's very, I love it, and I think our world needs more of it. I think our world needs more of it. So I'm really interested to know, what's your why? What is your why? What's your motivation? What's led you to where you are now?
Well, I think when I was younger, I definitely had a lot of trouble kind of fitting in with people. I always felt like I was almost like an alien around the people that I knew. And I also feel like I grew up consuming a lot of media, like lots of, I think the first time that I really realised that I really, really wanted to do theatre was when I went to York to see a production of Bluebeard by Emma Rice. And that kind of uses theatre to break down so many different important issues, like the treatment of women, feminism, things like that. And that's not the only thing that I'm interested in, but that made me realise, okay, this is, I have to be like this when I'm older. I have to do something that I remember I stood up at the end, and I just felt these tears running down my face, and I was like, oh my goodness, this has really affected me. This has made me think about how women are treated and has changed some of my opinions. And I got this feeling that I hope in the future I can use what I make to change other people's opinions. And the thing is, plays and art and reading and things like that, even when I didn't have that many friends or I was struggling, I always had a book or a play to keep me company, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I hope that in the future I can create something that will keep other people company. As well as that, I also feel like a lot of people my age, and this isn't meant to be patronising towards people my age, I feel like there's not enough interest in politics. I feel like I say to my friends, oh, do you read the news? Do you care about what's going on? And they say, well, I'm not really that bothered. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to be like me and read books, read theory books and all that stuff. But I think it's up to people who care about politics, like me and you and everyone, to take the stuff we know and translate it in a way that's more palatable or more understanding to someone who might not have time to sit down and read a book about politics, or might just need their opinion to be changed from one way or another, if that makes sense.
Totally. So there's a heck of a lot of disconnect and disenchantment. The difference, of course, the only difference between, in my opinion, the younger generations and, say, people of my generation, is based on the way that life tends to go. You're going to be here longer than we are on this planet. Yeah, on this planet. Yeah. So therefore, that's very important to the future, very much so. And I think, in a way, it's another one of these. There are generational gaps. There are belief system gaps, there are racial gaps, there are, gender gaps, there are many gaps of understanding. But if we bring it and boil it down to its basic form, we are human beings and we are living a human experience. And there are a lot of common factors in that. There are a lot of common factors in that experience. So it's trying to bring that to the fore more. And listening to what you're saying, because you are in the stage of life you are connecting with people of your age group and more, by the way, I would suggest. Yeah. But you are opening up that desire to be involved. So to not allow that disconnection and that disenchantment and that way of looking at these are the decision makers, they really don't care at all about us and what we're experiencing. So I think that's really exciting. That's really exciting, because politics is really fundamentally, without trying to sound like it's being meaningful, is people. It's people.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm very motivated, well, not motivated, but inspired by the concept of absurdism. And I feel like an author that I really love is Franz Kafka. I wrote a play about Franz Kafka, or at least I wrote the start of a play about Franz Kafka. And also Steven Berkoff, who actually adapted a lot of Franz Kafka's work into plays. And they both have a similar feeling of hopelessness because of the world we live in. Mm-hmm. And that definitely resonated with me. However, I want to take that absurdist idea a step further and take it into, okay, life's absurd and things don't make sense. How can we make it better? And I feel like a lot of those plays that I really enjoy will take that absurdist idea that the world's strange, but make it nihilistic and say that, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We can just sit around and do whatever. No, I want to say, okay, the world's absurd and it doesn't make sense. How can we make it better, if that makes sense?
Wow. So again, for me, responsibility. It comes down to responsibility. John Lennon, I often quote John Lennon, who one of his famous speeches was shaking a fist at government. Bad bad government, bad government. And he was effectively saying that it dissolves our responsibility or absolves us of responsibility because effectively we're blaming that which is outside us. And again, listening to you, the fundamental difference is you're not looking at the absurd nature of how things are and using that as an excuse to do, pardon me for a moment, but F all. You're taking that as an opportunity to think, what can I do within the means of me? I have these particular things, and it could be easy. It could be easy to think creativity, social problems, they've got nothing to do with each other. They've got loads to do with each other.
Yeah.
Because the creators are those that influence the creative world around them.
Yeah.
We all of us in some form or another influence the environment that we're in.
I completely agree.
And I think what I'm sharing with you in a roundabout way is genuinely, I'm absolutely blown away by hearing what you're sharing. And I find this, at my stage of life, incredibly exciting, because listening to you, I am now reconvinced that there is hope.
Oh, yeah. I hope there is hope.
Yeah. It's because that's what will make the difference. So rather than, let's say, for example, me, I could say, right, I'm towards the conclusion of this experience. I've worked, I've had family, I've done this, I've done that. So now it's my time to kick back and relax and think, do you know what? I am going to use the word this time. I'm going to do fuck all.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's easy. That's easy. That's lazy. So what I think is really, really refreshing is both of us in our own individual experiences are choosing in our own individual ways to not let that be the case. That's the thing that excites me. That's amazing. Wow. What a human being. Wow. So you've
Thank you.
No, seriously, you've knocked me sideways a little bit because there's even more in what you're sharing, and I think I'm really excited to see what you develop through what you're doing, and that's why I said I'm happy to support that in whatever way I can. So because that's how we can add. So wow. So you said theatres. Do you? This is going to sound like a negative question, Finn, but it's the one that came to me. Do you think in what you're creating, do you foresee that there will be a barrier in the sense of this could be something that certain environments might think, it's not exactly vaudeville. It's not exactly, colourful outfits and, jolly, happy music. And I'm not saying it isn't, by the way. But do you see that as being an issue? And if you do, how do you plan to work around that?
See, I don't think for the future that it will be an issue, because I know most people my age that that are interested in engaging in media that is something that is a little bit more than just entertainment. I think that a lot of darker things are very popular. So something that I know is very popular among my age group is a show called Fleabag, and that is very dark. It explores like very dark human emotions, and the play that I'm writing at the minute, Liar Liar, is actually very inspired by it, because it just takes such a deep look into human relationships, and it doesn't sugarcoat it. It shows it in a very brash, uncomfortable way. But I know so many people my age, not everyone, but so many people my age that really engage with that and enjoy it. I actually did, for my drama Scripted, I actually did a little excerpt from that as my solo piece, because it's a one-woman show. It's basically a show based off a play, which is a one-woman show. So I could do it as a monologue, and I did some weird stuff. I was expecting everyone to be like, Finn, what is this? I'm not interested. But I had this bit. I had some meat in the background because I filmed me playing with meat again with the multimedia thing, and that represented lots of different things and like the grotesqueness of human relationships. And it had quite tough topics and uncomfortable things. However, at the end, I had a lot of people coming up to me saying, I'm really impressed. I really enjoyed that. It really made me think. And I was worried that straight away everyone in the room was going to be like, this is weird, I'm not interested. But it was the complete opposite reaction. So I have a lot of hope for my generation that they will actually engage in stuff like this even more than past generations, because look at the fate of cinema, look at Marvel, look at what's going on in the cinemas at the minute. It's not great, and I feel like there's a kind of unrest among my generation when it comes to that media. If you ask anyone my age what they think of Marvel, they will say, oh, it's rubbish. They'll say, I'm not interested. And I feel like that unrest is going to eventually lead to more interesting media or more challenging media being put into the mainstream.
Fantastic. So that uneasiness, that disquiet, that uncomfortable feeling which resides in all of us, and it's good because often at times it's a warning mechanism as well that enables us to kind of sense things. That could be potentially the part of the backdrop of this invitation for others to come in and consider, because it is a point of entry. I'd listened to what you said, and I think this, the darkness is not something to avoid. The darkness is not something to avoid. I know in my life you try to block out certain things, and they have a tendency of coming back. So I think within media, and that music, film, theatre, books, art, and maybe even a combination of all of those together, you are sharing reality of the human experience. So some things that could feel disturbing at times.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other thing that strikes me is we are multi-sensory creatures. So if you can create, just from a point of view of any work that includes senses and as many senses as possible. So I'm thinking of that piece you did with meat. That would have like, whoa, wow, this is striking. This is striking. And we definitely need that in a very stupefied society at times, because there are so many things. I watch films at times purely because I know that they're absolute complete drivel. They're complete drivel. They're completely meaningless. Now, if I choose to do that all of the time, of course, that's going to affect my mindset and my way of being. But occasionally, what people would call escapism. But I think creativity also, and what you're sharing, is educational, incredibly educational and life-changing and emotional. And that sounds like that was your first experience, which led you into what you're doing now. You were visibly moved. You were moved by this experience. So that's what you're now sharing. And I love what you said as well about the company, creating company for others, something to keep them coming. I think that's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. So I'm going to ask a concluding question now, and I'd like you to consider coming back, because I think there's more to share. And when you move into more tangible outcome of the things that you are sharing, and or if that's happening now, I'd like you to share that in the future. But how can people connect with you? How can people reach out to you and find what you're doing and support what you're doing?
I'm definitely the most active on Instagram and YouTube. My Instagram, I post a lot of pictures and things like that. I also will post on my story if I'm off doing something that's important, that people can check out. And Instagram is also when I share my newest YouTube videos that come out. So when one comes out, that's where you can get notified. And YouTube is definitely my main focus at the minute. I also have a website that I have a lot of my writing on that's interesting. It has a lot of like some pictures of me, some I have like a bit of a blog section where I rant about things. I also have a album of the year account where I write my music reviews. I haven't written one in a few weeks. I need to get onto that. But most places, my username is my underscore wig underscore is underscore on underscore fire. So if you search up that, you'll find something.
My wig is on fire.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. And I will make sure, just so you know practically, that all of the links will be, so if you can share with me all of the links that you're talking about in the YouTube version here, the full podcast and snippets of it, which will build up to the full podcast. All of the links that lead people to you and to what you're sharing will be there, because I really, really think that's important. And I think you've got something very, very enthralling for a number of people.
Thank you very much.
And I think with my age group, I'm not now representing my age group, but I think I include many people within that. I know within those that I'm creating with, we're feeling this feeling of we need some new, we need some vibrancy, we need some reality, we need something that's not a rechurning of the same thing. It's not work to its fullest capacity. We need to do something, and that's what you're doing. Thank you so much, Finn. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, amazing. Look forward to next time, yeah?
All right.
Brilliant.
Bye-bye.
It's time.